I note the Democrats in Congress are more upset with what Donald Trump said than what actually happened. And I'm quite serious about this. Quite serious about this. We went off the air just a few minutes after this horrific event occurred, Mr. Producer, without having known, of course, that it occurred. And I'm off the air and I say, what the hell is this? And I watched the video several times on TV with my wife from a camera apparently on the roof of the Kennedy Center. And I said, wait a minute, the helicopter hit the plane. How the hell did the helicopter hit the plane? The helicopter went all the way across the river and hit the plane. Because they keep saying that the plane collided with the helicopter. No, the helicopter collided with the plane. I'm not blaming anyone. I'm just talking about what I saw with my own two eyes. And then I said to her, nobody survived that. Nobody. There's no way. There's no way. It was a fireball that just fell into the ocean. Fell into the river. I don't even want to get into details. You can imagine the massive blades, there's 4 of them on the helicopter, cut through that fuselage like a knife through butter. I mean, it must have been absolutely quick but horrendous. Really, so sad. And same with the individuals in the helicopter. These men are trained. They're good. They're military. They're army. They didn't just fly into an airplane because they flew into an airplane. Something happened. Something happened. We will find out. I think a lot of these experts are pretty correct about what took place. The ones who are talking about, they think the crew in the helicopter had a beat on the wrong plane. My wife pointed that out to me immediately when we're watching the video. She said, wait a minute, there's a plane that just took off. Maybe that had something to do with it. I mean, it was. You can see the plane taking off, moving up. The plane that was destroyed, I mean, you're 400 feet off the ground. There's not a lot you can do. There's not a lot of maneuvering you can do to avoid a hit. But it's not even clear that they saw anything. And apparently these devices that warn you about a potential, not crash, but a potential hit with something, under 1,000 feet, they don't alert you. Why? Because there's not a lot you can do about it. That's why. Now, I'm no expert, but I'm listening to these guys. Some experts make more sense to me than others. I'm just using my noggin. What would cause a helicopter to fly into an airplane that's 400 feet off the ground? The answer is they didn't see it. There weren't devices or technology for it. The answer is they didn't see it. And the tower told them to get behind the aircraft. Which aircraft? It didn't say. And everything happened in a very truncated period of time, so there wasn't a lot of time to do anything at that point. But that plane that was taking off, I'm sure they saw that one out the right side. And that's where they probably said, all right, we're behind that plane. And then bang, nobody even knew what the hell happened. That's my guess, which isn't worth anything, but I'm just telling you from looking at it. But now we're learning a few other things, and this is the way it'll be. God rest those souls. I can only imagine how many of us have been on planes. You've almost landed. You're getting ready to turn on your phone, or you just turn on your phone to tell your loved one you're here. They're there to pick you up. Or that you're on the other end of the flight and you're getting ready to call or text and let them know that you've landed safely. When you're 400 feet off the tarmac and you're literally about to land, you figure, flight is over. And you're hit by a helicopter? They talk about the amount of traffic there. There's a lot of traffic there. But there haven't been accidents as a result of the traffic. I mean, that 1982 disaster that took place, that was because of the de-icing over time. It needed more de-icing. And the plane flew into the river. It was too heavy. It had nothing to do with the amount of traffic, air traffic. So you're going to have a lot of people talking about solutions that have nothing to do with the problem. But here's a problem that existed. And you have to ask yourself this, and I'm serious. This government has more money than one could even imagine. And they got $2 trillion more for the so-called Inflation Reduction Act. And when you take trillions of dollars and you piss it away on stupid stuff, and you lose your focus and you lose your prioritization, bad things happen. When Donald Trump's going off about this DEI stuff, and I went back and looked, can you imagine people in the tower who are hard of hearing, who have sight issues? They go on and on and on. In other words, it was a long list of the left's woke demands. And yet, apparently the FAA didn't have enough staff at the Reagan National Airport. New York Times. This came out about 3 hours ago, actually 2.5 hours ago. Staffing at the air traffic control tower at Ronald Reagan National Airport, quote, was not normal for the time of day and volume of traffic, unquote, according to an internal preliminary FAA safety report about the collision that was reviewed by the New York Times. The controller, who was handling helicopters in the airport's vicinity, was also instructing planes that were landing and departing from its runways. Those jobs typically are assigned to 2 controllers rather than 1. Now, part of the reason for that is, and I don't know if they get to it later here, I'll read it to you, but they're on 2 different communication frequencies, commercial flights and military flights. This increases the workload for the air traffic controller and can complicate the job. One reason is that the controllers, here you go, can use different radio frequencies to communicate with pilots flying planes and pilots flying helicopters. While the controller is communicating with the pilots of the helicopter and the jet, the 2 sets of pilots may not be able to hear each other. Like most of the country's air traffic control facilities, the tower at Reagan has been understaffed for years. The tower there was nearly a third below targeted staff levels, with 19 fully certified controllers as of September 2023, according to the most recent air traffic controller workforce plan, an annual report to Congress that contains target and actual staffing levels. The target set by the FAA and the controllers union call for 30. Well, nice. They weren't even close. Everything this guy Buttigieg touches turns to crap. Crap. What the hell was he doing as transportation secretary? Not just this, but in so many ways. The EV charging stations. I mean, I can go on and on and on, this guy. Which is why Trump is fed up with him today. Trump knows more than we do. He's been briefed on all aspects of this. No question about it. The shortage caused by years of employee turnover and tight budgets. And they put it that way so you don't hold Biden and Buttigieg responsible, or the Democrats in Congress, who are busy screaming at Donald Trump and take no responsibility for anything. Nothing. Has forced many controllers to work up to 6 days a week and 10 hours a day. The FAA did not immediately respond to requests for comment. Understaffed. Now, I understand many of these government unions, there's never enough people anywhere and so forth and so on. But the FAA, look, if the government's going to run air traffic control, it better do it right. And that's why I tell you all the time, and you know this instinctively anyway, why do we believe that when the government does something, it's going to be better than the private sector? Why do we believe that? There's been a lot of debate over the years, mostly under the radar, about privatizing the FAA, not just handing it out to Joe Schmo who just opened shop on the corner. No. To very experienced people who used to work in towers, pilots, and so forth and so on. No, that's too dangerous. That's too dangerous. So, of course, Trump comes in. He's furious about all this. He sees this. And, by the way, he's extremely humane. And he gets very upset when he sees these kinds of tragedies. He absolutely does, or people being kidnapped. It upsets him to no end. Meanwhile, the Democrats in the Senate, what are they busy doing? Trying to make sure that these major departments that have a significant role over whether people live or die, safety and health and so forth, they want control over these areas, the bureaucracy. They've got it. And the Democrats, they want the government running us. They've got it. And then when it comes to having cabinet members, they have an entire dark plan of a saboteur to try and prevent Donald Trump from getting the people in these cabinet positions that he wants. And they did the same thing to him in 2016. And I'm going to talk about this and expose this extensively on Saturday night's Life, Liberty, and Levin. I'm doing the research now. Shocking. Horrible. You know, you've got these figure skaters, you've got these kids on the plane, you've got these wonderful flight attendants and the pilots and the heroes that were in the helicopter. They're all gone. 67 of them. Just like that in a split second. They're all gone. There was never any hope. Couldn't survive in that water more than 10 minutes. But with those chopper blades and the explosion and the plummeting into the river, it's just horrendous. Horrendous. And they were almost there. They were there. Seconds away. Seconds away. And we can't just blame it on systems anymore. People are in positions of power, people in positions where they demand more money and so forth. And okay, we expect them to step up now. To step up, to do their jobs. Mistakes are made, mistakes are made. But when you have a tower like this in a very busy airport, it's a small airport, one of the first airports, then you make sure it's staffed properly. And the Secretary of Transportation, Buttigieg, the Biden regime, did not. But they made sure that they were pushing that radical left agenda. Whatever you do, don't discriminate against anybody for any reason. We're not even talking about race here. We're talking about physicality. It's depressing. It's very upsetting. Because, again, we all project. We've all been on planes. We've all had family members on planes. You think of that call that's made, the dread. You're there at the airport. You're all excited to meet them. And this happens. It's not a perfect world. I get it. But it needs to be more perfect. There's no reason when a government is spending trillions and trillions on crap, on left-wing causes, on left-wing organizations, just crap, that you don't have the money to make sure these towers are fully staffed. That is so horrendous. You look at the border. The amount of money we spend in this government. You look at the border. In the past administration that didn't secure the border, wouldn't secure the border, lied to us about it being secured, then lied about it when they said we need bipartisan legislation. They knew where these murderers were. They knew where these pedophiles were. They knew where these Venezuelan gang members were. They knew where these rapists were. They know what's going on the border, the fentanyl coming into the country, the women being sold into slavery, the children being sold into sex slavery, and they did not lift a finger. They could have rounded up these people. They could have deported them, but they did not. They let them in. That's why you have an angry president of the United States and Donald Trump. He looks at this. And what do the media do? They attack him because the media suck. That's why.